Hello people of the internet. Today I'm going to be showing you some behind the scenes of the Avengers Age of Ultron build cinematic that TrixyBlox have done. If you haven't seen their video, go and check that out now. I'll leave a link in the description. And I'm just going to be showing you how we did it. So first off, Oscar obviously had to build the map. So he spent quite a long time doing all that. And here it is in a program called JMC2OBJ, which essentially converts the Minecraft world into an object model file, which you can then use in a 3D application. So how this works, you select the area you want to export and export it out. So that's essentially all this program does, but it's an incredibly useful tool. If you do ever want to do something like this, this was definitely the one I would recommend. I actually did quite a bit of programming for this as well, because there's a lot of things that get exported with it, and I've been trying to optimize that so it works a bit better. So programs like Blender or Maya or whatever you're using don't lag out when you import in this huge object file. So that's all this does. Exports the Minecraft map and brings it into Maya. Alright, here we are loaded up into Maya, and as you can see, it's absolutely huge scale, and this is why I needed to try and optimize it, because otherwise it's just uncontrollable. Like, the interface is just completely lags out. You can't use it at all. But here we are in Maya. I don't have the textures turned on because that crashes it, because there's just so much here. There we go. There's a count of all the different things in here. So what is that? That is 12.5 million faces, which is a lot of faces. So that's why it's so much. They're all in individual chunks. So you can see here how it was trying to optimize it. So rather than being each individual cube like these ones, it actually merges faces in between, which saves a hell of a lot throughout the whole thing. And yeah, so here it is in Maya, looking nice. And really all I did in this to set it up was just a simple mental array sun and sky, and just tweaked a few settings on that, made it look pretty good. So that's, in terms of lighting, that's all there is. Setting up all the materials for each block took quite a while. There's a lot of them, because you have to essentially have one for each block that there is. So you can see there's a lot of materials in this. So most of them are pretty basic, but a few of them, like anything with transparency and like glass, took a little bit longer to set up just so they're looking right. That's all the materials being set up. For actually rendering it, we're using Mental Ray, which comes with Maya. Very nice. The other thing, we have to have render passes, which I'll show you what they're used for later. We move on into Nuke. And so really for this, it was just setting up the camera angles, which Oscar did. They sort of went around, put the cameras in, animated them. So that's how all this stuff was done in Maya. And then we had to render it out, which took a bloody long time. Even though it only took about 2 minutes per frame, it was still took about 2 or 3 days to render this out, and that's using my computer, Oscar's computer, Harvey's computer, and Leon's computer. So that was a very, very long time to render all this out, but came out looking really nice in the end. So that's pretty much it for Maya. You can see the shadow is on here. It looks really nice and detailed. However, you can see now it's starting to lag quite a bit. And we turn on ambient occlusion as well. Yep. So It looks nice, but it's basically unusable at this point, so we just have to use it in basic way render type thing without any materials on it. So yeah, it just freezes like that. So that's what it's like in Maya. So this is the just huge amount of polygons and simple light, and that's pretty much all we did in Maya to set all this up. Right, now I'm going to move into Nuke, which is where I spent quite a bit of time just sort of getting it all looking nice. Alright, so here we are in Nuke. Don't know what Nuke is. It's a compositing program, kind of similar to what After Effects does, but it does it all in this node tree down here. And so what we do is we take what we get rendered out, and so this is what it looked like straight out rendered from Maya, and so it looks kind of a bit plain here really, so it doesn't look too good. And then here's where the render passes come in. They have all these different kind of layers in the file, and they essentially just contain different information about the render. And so you can see there's basically different pictures in there. And essentially what you do is you use that and build the picture back up from scratch. So just adding them together to create the final picture like this. And then we do lots of effects on top of that. So one I've changed quite a bit was the engine here. So you can see it's adding glows and things like that. A bit of glint. And then it makes it look more kind of glowing because it's a engine. So after we've added all of these parts together, we get this. We do some color correction and exposure control just to get it looking a bit nicer. And we use the depth map, which essentially says how far away from the camera each pixel is. And then we use that to generate a sort of fog. And so you can see here between these two, this one kind of looks like it's got a sort of foggy, kind of dusty feel to it. That's when it starts going a bit orangey. We're trying to get the look of the actual film itself. So that makes it look sort of foggy because obviously there's dust all around and stuff because a big chunk of the ground has been lifted out. So the other thing we have to do is get the sky in. So obviously you see here it's just sort of this white emptiness. And so what we do is we render out a second bit, which is pretty much just the clouds. And so I do some stuff to get that working. I essentially created a new scene, which is just empty, rendered this out, joined them together to get this clouds in the sky, render that one out in, this is actually all done in Nuke's 3D thing. Can't see it very well. We have the camera in there, that's the one from Maya. And we can see in here that we just have a cube with all those pictures on it. And we render out from this camera's view of what the sky looks like. So once we have that, it renders out image like that. Color correct it so it looks in place with the rest of it, and merge that over the top of the sky so that fits in with there. Then we have our depth of field, which adds quite a lot to the shot actually. Surprising how much of a difference that does make. And so if we zoom in, we can see what difference that makes. You can see this starts to look kind of blurry because it's out of focus, and then the stuff up here is nice and in focus. Obviously if we move this down here, it'll then focus in on this building over here and then defocus all this stuff around the edge. And so that's how we're focusing on different things, making it look a bit more realistic, I suppose. What else we've got? We're taking God rays from the sky, which look like that, and so essentially just takes where the sky is and does a God ray filter onto it, which brings it out like that. So it takes this and then does God rays, which give you that lovely God ray effect on there. So that adds a lot to the look of the shot. And then the only other thing that we're doing really is adding in, gotta have those lens flare. They just look nice. So make them glow up a bit, add them in. So that just adds that extra little bit. Not every shot has this, it depends on where the sun is really compared to the camera. Final color correct, put down, otherwise these things kept breaking. Lens distortion, just give that extra little feel of it being a bit more realistic. And finally some grain, which isn't too noticeable, but it's there. Look in the clouds, you can see it kind of grains the image a bit. But that is how we put it all together in Nuke and made it look super nice. So we go from looking like this, which is kind of crappy, to looking like this, which just looks really nice basically. So that's what I was doing. So once we have all of this, then gave that back to Oscar so he could put it in, get music to it and all that. And yeah, I'm really happy with how that turned out. It looks really nice. These are pre-visualization shots of the Maya viewport using something called Play Blast, which essentially renders out just the viewport look, and so we can see how the shots are going to work. And Oscar put this together just so we knew that all the shots were going to work before we rendered it all out, because otherwise we don't want to render it out and then have it look kind of crappy. So this is all done with the Maya viewport. So this was just so we could see what it looked like before we had any of the actual stuff rendered out. And thankfully they all pretty much looked about right. We changed a few things like the speed of some of the camera's movements. But yeah, all came out pretty well. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this look at behind the scenes, how we actually put the whole thing together. You can go download the map from wherever Oscar put it up, and see you next time.